Hi again, Orchidea family. In this video, we're going to look at a couple of features of the standalone Orchidea application that you see in front of you. Why don't we take a look at the effect of different databases? If we orchestrate the same target using the different databases that we have available, that is to say the different DB files that make calculations on the same set of audio files, the database, we can get extremely varied results. So why don't we get into this? Here I have a recording of a starling. I'm just going to dump it here. This will be the target sound I'm going to use in today's video. It sounds like this. And as you might guess, it's been slowed down and that kind of thing. Let's go ahead and orchestrate this. I've already got my database set in the preferences over here in the settings. This is the particular database file based on a feature, and then this right here is the path to all the sound files. So if I click on this first set of three dots, I'm going to choose one of these database files. So here's the Spectrum one. I'm going to start with Spectrum. It's kind of like a good place to start. And I'm going to click Load Database. And because this is an evolving sound, I know it's not going to be a static orchestration. So I'm going to change the threshold values here. You may have seen what I just did there. I clicked once and I can actually enter a value, or I can pull up and down on the slider, actually pull left and right, drag left or right. I can do that with any of these. But for today's video, I'm just going to plug in some values that I found to be most helpful. 0.07 as a threshold value, quite low, and 19 milliseconds for a time gate. And let's go ahead and orchestrate the sound. Here it goes. And it's quite dense here, but why don't we take a listen? Now, actually, if you compare that to the playback we just made of the original target sound, you might think, okay, there are some stark contrasts here. Without changing many of the parameters that you see in front of you, although it is advisable to experiment with these things, if you hover over any of these, you'll be able to see explanations for the various parameters and their values. But I just want to concentrate today on what happens when we easily swap out one database file for another. So what we've just heard is the Spectrum database file, and its out-of-the-box attempt to orchestrate the sound target that we chose. The Spectrum gives you a lot of frequency matches, which are really helpful with pitched sound. But why don't we go ahead and swap it out? Go ahead and click on the Settings button one more time. And then up here, click on the three dots. And instead of Spectrum, let's choose the MFCC, the Mel Frequency Cepstral Coefficients. I'm going to click Open, Load Database, and X out of this thing. Now, to do the same thing again, I'm just going to drag and drop the same audio file a second time onto my maquette. And I've clicked on it, and I need to reset these values once again. So I'll click here, 0.07 and 19 as a time gate, leaving all the rest as is. And I'm going to go ahead and orchestrate again. You might notice it takes a little bit less time. The database file is actually quite light. It doesn't take up as much memory as the Spectrum file. So let's listen to the result of our MFCC calculation. So we can hear quite different results. And that's basically because the Mel Frequency Cepstral Coefficients don't do such a great job, or as good of a job, matching the particular pitch and frequency information analyzed in the target. This is a much better match for the overall spectral envelope or timbral approximation of the target sound. Let's continue and look at another one. I'm going to repeat the same steps. I'm going to drag and drop the sound file in once again and set up my parameter 0.07, 19 milliseconds. And I'm going to click on Settings and change the database file up here once again. Now let's choose a different one. Let's choose the spectral envelope. This is another measure of the spectral envelope using a different kind of analysis. I'm going to click Load Database, click Close, and without changing anything else, orchestrate once again. Okay, it looks quite different, and it's going to sound quite different. Here, let's listen. Very interesting. Let's continue. Let's do one more, shall we? I'm going to drag and drop again. I'm going to click Command plus a couple of times and maybe just drag the window to zoom in on what my work looks like here and get them all in the same view. And last but not least, 0.07 and 19 milliseconds. I'm going to click on settings and change this a final time to, let's take spectral peaks. Peaks in the spectrum. Loading database, and again, just going to click orchestrate. Another quite varied set of results, as we can see just by looking at it. Let's go ahead and play it. Here it goes. So as you can see, it doesn't actually take much to just change one of the parameters at a time and sort of gradually chip away at this sort of ideal match between the target sound of your choosing and one of the solutions. Now for my money, actually it's this one right here, the MFCC, that for me sounds kind of like the best approximation of this particular target sound, but you be the judge. There are of course ways to refine this, and we'll get to those very soon, but the last thing I want to show you today in this video is some of the saving features. Now I already showed you these two options. The export project is music XML and is audio waveform, but we didn't talk about this option here, or these two options, save and save as. If I just go to save as, you can see that it's going to give an extension to this particular kind of file as .orchidea. Why don't we just change it to something like my Starling? And I'm going to save it on the desktop and click save. And I've got that file now on my desktop. And so if I were to say quit, or if, for example, Orchidea were to lock up on me and freeze, and I had to force quit the application, for those who may not be used to this kind of thing, I can go up to a Mac, Apple, force quit, and let's pretend like this is frozen on me. I can just say force quit Orchidea and force quit. Now, if I were to open Orchidea once again, I can immediately come back up here to File, Open, or Open Recent for that matter. But I can select my starling.orchidea and click Open, and I have my project just as I had it before. So pro tip for the day is to get in the habit of frequently saving your work, not only exporting it as XML when you're ready to work between applications, but when you are in the middle of a project. Now, one more thing I'd like to demonstrate here is just a bit of the filtering features. So I'm going to click on this solution, and over here in the sidebar, I'm going to click on filters. Let's say that you thought that that last solution is filled with very loud sounds, and you don't necessarily want to have the loudest sounds in your database. If you leave all of these unchecked here, it will just search for the most appropriate sounds at any dynamic level. But if, for example, I want quieter sounds, I'll just choose piano and pianissimo here. I can reorchestrate it, and I only have these dynamic levels, which were considered in the search. And maybe for you that sounds a little closer to the target or not, but I'm always into examining what ways we could filter some of these things in and out. We'll explore this in a little bit more depth in the Max version as well in subsequent videos, but that's it for today. Happy orchestrating, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.